Zimbabwe has signed a $2 billion United States deal to be part of 5 other countries to produce food for Africa with a guaranteed export market. Agriculture Minister Dr. Anxious Masuka said the country is earmarking an additional 50,000 hectares of land to be able to produce enough for both export and domestic consumption. The agriculture value chain financing deal was signed on the sidelines of the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, which is underway in Egypt.
US $2 billion deal for value chain financing for agriculture with a guaranteed offtake in Egypt, facilitated by Afreximbank and Zimbabwe with 5 other countries is going to be producing. For Zimbabwe, we are putting an indicative number of 50,000 hectares that we would like to mobilize our farmers to produce on, including state institutions such as ADA, so we are able to produce enough to feed ourselves, because irrigation development is the biggest constraint to climate-proofing agriculture. So with this massive investment, we are able to produce enough to feed ourselves and also for this guaranteed export market. This is exciting news for Zimbabwe, the biggest accelerator for irrigation development since the Second Republic.
We are now joined live by our head of business, Andy Hodges, to help us put this deal into perspective. Good evening, Andy. How critical is value chain financing?
One of the major gaps in Zimbabwe's agricultural sector is the value chain. In fact, over the years, I would say that value chain, to the detriment of the sector, has become non-existent. Therefore, the announcement by the Minister of Agriculture of this $2 billion funding for value chain financing is an incredibly good news, for the agricultural sector. Because if you think about it, you have the farmer who produces a crop. Who knows what that crop may be? Is that crop actually suitable for the market outside of maize and wheat? Well, how does it get to the marketplace? Are they value additions to the crop produced by the farmer in Zimbabwe? So this financing could be a huge game changer for the agricultural sector.
Now, there are guaranteed offtakes in this agreement. What does this mean to the local farmer?
Well, one great thing about this deal announced by the Minister of Agriculture, of course, is guaranteed off-takers. So look, I haven't seen the full details of the deal, but I would assume that it means that there will be value addition to agricultural commodities, possibly selected by the buyers. We would grow those, we would value add, and then they would off-take, we would sell them obviously for export receipts. We're still to look at the agreement in full detail. But in essence, if you have off-takers, guaranteed off-takers, then they need to know the crop they're buying, the quality they're buying, how much they're getting, and where it's coming from. And if we have all of those, then the deal becomes sound and fair.
Absolutely. Andy, what does this whole deal mean in terms of Zimbabwe's food self-sufficiency?
Zimbabwe has to become food self-sufficient. And there's various reasons, of course, why. The obvious reason is we need to feed our people effectively. Secondly, of course, we need to produce agricultural crops that allows us to export and create more export receipts. And of course, the third, which is also some may say the more critical thing, is to uplift the lot of farmers, to make farming as lucrative as it is and as it should be. So it's very critical that Zimbabwe puts all its efforts into things like drought proofing, into things like making sure that farmers are trained on what to grow, the crops they have to grow and the markets they have to reach. All these things are in place. And now with this financing on top of that, where there is value chain financing as well as off-takers, great news for the farmers.
Thank you for your input. That was Andy Hodges, our head of business. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe's leader, President Mnangagwa, is in Egypt for the Inter-Africa Trade Fair, where the country is seeking to conclude deals worth over $20 million as well as pursue new leads for the export market. The premier African Trade Fair is held in collaboration with the African Union and the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and is expected to attract participation from 75 countries and feature 1,600 exhibitors. The fair is projected to facilitate trade and investment deals with $43 billion. Kudzanai Sharara is in Cairo for the expo and now gives us more details.
The 2023 Intra-Africa Trade Fair, underway here in Cairo, Egypt, continues to be a fruitful one for Zimbabwe. Having signed deals worth $181 million last week, yesterday saw Zimbabwean officials participate at an Egypt-Zimbabwe business forum organized by the country's Trade Development and Promotion body, Zimtrade. The major highlight of the oversubscribed forum was the expression of interest to invest in Zimbabwe by several Egyptian businesses in various sectors of the economy. One company at the forum, the African Cooperation Committee, which came into Zimbabwe 2 weeks ago and has already submitted its proposal to go into a public-private partnership with Complex for the manufacture of fertilizers, said that they are ready to venture into fertilizer manufacturing in Zimbabwe. Today saw Zimbabwe score another milestone after it signed a $2 billion deal alongside 5 other countries to produce agriculture products for continental off-takers. Agriculture Minister Dr. Encius Masuka signed on behalf of Zimbabwe. President Mnangagwa was also in attendance, where he attended the presidential summit that was held earlier in the morning, which was addressed by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. Reporting for ZTN Prime, I'm Kudzanai Sharara.